Yes, and that's really central because I was seeing with the autistic kids that their gut was messed up. It was very clear their gut microbiome was messed up, and that I was looking for something that would be doing. I was thinking in terms of antibiotics for ear infections. I was working with that idea. But glyphosate is a patented antimicrobial agent. They know it kills bugs. Unfortunately, it kills the good guys much more than it kills the bad guys. So you end up with lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. Those are really two really important microbes that get a good grip on the gut when the baby's born, the infant, they need those microbes to be able to digest the milk. And those microbes are very sensitive to glyphosate. And this is really crucial because they get reduced in number. And then other microbes can grow because there's a hole. Whenever there's a vacuum, other microbes can grow. And the autistic kids have an overgrowth of clostridia. And clostridia are especially resistant to glyphosate. And so a very nice study showed that bifidobacteria and lactobacillus were much more sensitive than clostridia and salmonella. Salmonella is another one that's been causing trouble. So you end up with these toxic metabolites produced by these pathogens like clostridia. And there are papers that have shown clostridia overgrowth linked to autism. There was an amazing paper that involved a set of triplets, and there were 2 boys and a girl. Both boys were diagnosed with autism. The girl had a seizure disorder. All of them tested high levels of glyphosate in their urine. And the doctor who wrote the paper, it was a case study, and he observed that they had high clostridia growth and they had clostridia metabolites that have been shown to be linked to autism in mouse studies. They've been shown that these clostridia produce these metabolites that are toxins that end up disrupting the brain. They actually get into the brain and disrupt the brain and cause the autistic symptoms. So that's quite striking. It has to do with dopamine getting overstimulated dopamine because the enzyme that breaks down the dopamine is busted by the toxins that are produced by the clostridia. So there's all these complicated things that happen in biology. An amazing story, and it shows that glyphosate disrupts the pH of the gut. It makes it pH too high, which ends up disrupting the balance of these metabolites that are produced by the gut microbe, which are these small fatty acids, short chain fatty acids. There's 3 of them that are really important: butyrate, propionate, and acetate. And what's been shown in studies is that in the presence of glyphosate, acetate goes down. And butyrate depends upon, and the pH goes up, and butyrate depends on low pH. So you end up with too little butyrate and too much acetate. Acetate goes up, butyrate goes down. And propionate in particular goes way up. And propionate is the one that's hooked to autism. It's really fascinating. Just this simple thing of these little fatty acids, you can't imagine that it could be so important. It's a 1-chain, 2-chain, and 3-chain. They're very short fatty acids, super important. They're made by the gut microbes. And the butyrate is the fuel for the colonocytes that line the gut barrier. So when there's not enough butyrate, the colonocytes get sick, you get a leaky barrier, and then you get all kinds of problems. And on top of that, it messes up the digestion of the proteins because that depends upon those bacteria that are getting killed off. The lactobacillus and the bifidobacteria help the host to digest milk.